Right, so we're back after a little summer break and I've got the perfect film to come back to. I'm so excited to talk to you about this one. Now, I have to say this right at the beginning. As a die-hard Marvel fan, this review is going to contain major spoilers. So if you haven't seen this film yet, then get to watch it, come back and see me, because today we are talking about the latest summer blockbuster, Spider-Man Brand New Day. And look, I even got a poster from the cinema. Okay, so this is your last chance. There are huge spoilers coming from the outset. So, are you sure? You're still here? All right, let's go.
The hell, Frank? You just hit me with a van!
Quit your whimpering. Suit yourself.
And sometimes Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. What is happening to me?
We are faced with a danger that we can't control. One we can't even see. Stay out of my way.
It amounts to a kind of rebirth.
So, I'm saying what the rest of the internet is saying about this film. This is by far the best Tom Holland Spider-Man film. By far. I loved No Way Home and I thought it was incredible, but the gravity and the storytelling in this absolutely surpasses it. So this film is set 4 years after the events of No Way Home, and Peter has been living a very sheltered lifestyle because of that Doctor Strange spell that he put on, you know, where everyone forgot Peter Parker. Now, one thing Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed this latest entry, knows all about is massive emotional character depth and some great fighting scenes, so we are in for a treat with this one. This film really focuses on Peter's loneliness in the past few years, and watching his best friend Ned and the love of his life MJ from afar, it was just too painful to be near them. So this means he can unreservedly be Spider-Man and dedicate his whole life to it, which he does, and he never takes a break. I know that feeling. Taking on street-level threats like Boomerang, Tarantula, Tombstone for the first time we've seen in live action, and I'll be honest, I wish we got to see more. He was brilliant. And Michael Mando's Scorpion, who had a slightly bigger role in the film, but not as big as the trailers hyped it up. But the real threat in this film, and this is a huge spoiler alert, the theories were right, Sadie Sink has officially been cast as the supremely powerful telepath and one of the OG key X-Men, Jean Grey. This is absolutely huge news because there's been so much speculation about the casting for the X-Men films, and Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, of course, have remained really tight-lipped about this one because it's supposed to be the soft reboot for the entire MCU after Secret Wars. X-Men's the first film after it, so they've got to keep it quiet. So it looks like we've got our first casting out of it. So Jean's been portrayed as the villain in this film because she's using her telepathic powers to take over host bodies to get closer to the head of the Department of Damage Control to find out what VMAX is. One of my favourite things about this, though, we get to see Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, played by the perfectly cast John Bernthal, who sometimes works with Spider-Man and works against him as well. Now, the Punisher and Spider-Man have got a strange relationship, to say the least, in this film, and it gets explored the entire way through the film. We don't know where it came from or how it began, but we're glad that it did. Back to Spider-Man now, though, because he's got his own problems. His genetics are changing, and one of the big triggers that started it all off was emotional distress. Now, this was caused by him gate-crashing MJ and Ned's party to find out that MJ's got a new man. And this is something the film does incredibly well, showing that the more grown-up characters are battling this new way of life after what happened with Doctor Strange's spell, and the emotional weight that comes with it. And this understandably tears Peter apart, as you can imagine. And we see Peter get home just before he passes out, only to wake up in what looks like a spider's cocoon made out of webbing outside of his apartment. And we see throughout the film how his senses have been dialed up to 11 in this, and he learns how to control them. Something that I really wanted to see though was Peter grow those extra arms or turn into that giant spider like the 90s animated show. But alas, not this time. So, Peter's looking for some help, and who does he go to? None other than Bruce Banner, which is in his human form for the first time since Infinity War, and he's teaching at some university, but Peter wants to speak to him about power inhibiting, which is basically trying to suppress the weird things that's going on with him at the minute. And also, Mark Ruffalo was great. Isn't he always, though? He's brilliant. Now, at this point, Jean is infiltrating minds left, right, and center to get to Spider-Man, who's the only mind that she can't control because of his Peter tingle, you know? And says that she's going after MJ, which you can imagine didn't go down well. Peter races across the city to save her, but it's too late, and the most heartbreaking moment of this film happens. And this is where the emotional gravitas of the film really comes into play, and it's unlike anything that we've ever seen from a Spider-Man film. Maybe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2, but while possessed by Jean, MJ tells Peter absolutely everything that he wants to hear, making him think that she's found him after Doctor Strange's spell, and they were hugging each other so tightly. And the line that got me from Tom Holland that he repeated is, "I've been so lonely." And it really did make me feel emotional, because imagine in your day-to-day life, every single person you know or love has just completely forgot about you, and then suddenly you've got that little glimmer of hope after reclusing away for protecting them so long, only to be manipulated and have a gotcha moment. It was really sad, and I could genuinely feel Peter's loneliness and pain in this scene. It was incredible. Great work, Tom. Anyway, fast forwarding a little bit, we arrive to the big bit of the film where Jean successfully infiltrated the Department of Damage Control and has taken control of Bruce as Smart Hulk. Ooh. He's breaking down the safe door and then turns back into the original rage-filled Hulk that we have been yearning for ages. So good to see him back on screen. Spider-Man and the Hulk have a little fight, and Spidey sort of wins and goes to take on Jean, but he's cut short when he places an inhibitor on her, and then she gets shot in the leg with a tranquilizer dart, thus knocking her out. Jean then wakes up in this facility, and Spider-Man realizes that he's got it wrong and goes to save her, but it's too late. And she finds out what VMAX is, and it's the air conditioning unit's brand name, because that's the room that Jean's sister was tortured and experimented on, making it the last thing that her sister saw before she died, and it was projected into Jean's mind. Which then gave Jean a huge power-up, and everyone in a mile radius was frozen because of her telekinetic powers. And Peter tries to save Jean, but she sends some baddies via the hand to go and sort him out. But this unlocks more of his spider powers. He ends up beating him and tries to reason with Jean, but she's got the director of damage control strapped to a chair. Oofed. Jean finally gets into Peter's mind and sees Aunt May reassuring him, which then turns into Aunt May reassuring Jean, and then Peter reassuring Jean as well. And all this reassuring is interrupted by Frank shooting a huge sniper rifle bullet intended to take Jean out, but Peter steps in front of her and saves her, almost killing himself in the process. Jean keeps him alive enough to get him treated in the hospital and then heads off on the run. Now, the last shot of this film is Peter going into the deli that he picks up flowers for May, but he sees Ned just sitting there. And he starts chatting to him, he reintroduces himself, and then they start their signature handshake, and Ned finally realizes who Peter is before it cuts to black. Now, I've got a genuine question for you, and I honestly would love to hear your thoughts on this, right? So if Ned, MJ, Frank, and now Jean know who Peter Parker is and is Spider-Man, what's the ramifications of that? Because Doctor Strange's spell that was to save the multiverse was to make sure that no one knew who Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So does that mean that there's something more sinister coming? Could it have a link to Doomsday somehow? I don't know. Honestly, let me know, because I honestly would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on it. And there's only one post-credit scene right at the end of this, and it's Ned's Spidey Tracker app saying that there's a Spider-Man that's gone missing, only to be found in space somewhere. Now, here's my hot take and my theory on this, right? I think that this is Spider-Man that's been transported to Battleworld for Secret Wars. I don't think he's going to feature in Doomsday at all, or if he does, it's a very minor part. Because it's all building up to the Doom Spider-Man face-off, with Peter seeing the face of the man that was like a father figure to him for so long. And honestly, when that scene comes out, everybody's heart's going to break. Get the tissues at the ready. This film was incredible and definitely worth seeing in IMAX. I do think it was a little bit long, as it could have been a little bit shorter, if I'm honest. You probably could have cut out about 20 minutes of it. But I would definitely 100% go and see it again soon. I think I've booked in at the weekend, actually. I've booked it in early doors. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. It's the best Spider-Man film since Spider-Man 2. But what did you think of it, though? What's your thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day? Let me know in the comments section below, and I'll see you next time.